Compliance can make or break your business, so you should never leave it up to chance. You need to understand your assets, create your maintenance plan, and stay up to date with what is required. In this webinar, I'm joined by James Webber, and we cover the most common reasons why people fall off the SFG20 standard, how to escape the vicious cycle of reactive maintenance, and how to establish solid foundations to future-proof your facility management approach. Let's jump right in and get started on how to build solid FM foundations. Not every organization has the same starting point. The history of your strategy is going to be impacting how well your foundations are set up. Your foundations may not even be yours. They were probably set up by somebody else. You probably inherited them. So if you have strong foundations, that is great. It's time to optimize them. But if you don't, there is some work that you've got to do. But hopefully James and I will walk you through how to do that today. And we want to make that as simple as possible. And you might be starting with some of these challenges that we've got here on screen. So maybe your asset register is not up to date. And maybe that's because, you can't be sure to meet statutory compliance without an up-to-date asset register. You need maintenance regimes or plans for all of your assets. Maybe you don't have enough resource. Carrying out required work is a challenge because you're spread too thin and you don't have the resource to do everything that's needed. Maybe you've recently changed service provider, and we all know that handovers can often be a little bit messy when you're taking information from one provider and handing them over to another. But again, today we will try and help you make sure that you don't have to start again every single time. Maybe budget is a piece of this conversation too. Maintenance budgets are often competing in strategic priorities in the business. And it's hard to, really shout about why you need a maintenance budget, especially in a culture of funding cuts. Now, on top of this, you've got to stay up to date with legislation and industry standards and codes of practice, and all of the things that you need to remain compliant. Now, if you're not using the SFG20 software Facilities IQ, that can be really difficult. Maybe you need full-time resources to do this. And again, the funding challenge might come into play. Maybe you've got some outdated ways of working, and we know that some organizations are still using PDFs of the SFG20 standard. Now, when that standard changes, those PDFs come out of date. That risks you building upon foundations that are not secure. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later on today. In addition, people are falling off the standard because they are failing to make updates into their FM systems. So in the past, updating your CAFM system may have been time consuming when you need to make changes to your maintenance plan. Now, that's no longer the case if you're using Facilities IQ. But, we can talk about that a little bit later on as well. So with some of these problems, it's easy for an organization to get themselves into a perpetual cycle of doom, especially without the solid foundation to really build a good maintenance strategy. Now, it can easily become a vicious cycle of reactive maintenance that can increase risk and costs to your organization. Now, you're going to know that reactive maintenance is about addressing repairs and maintenance when they arise without that pre-scheduled plan. Now, it's the fix when it fails approach, but where actions are only taken after failure, that causes a problem. It's inefficient, and you're probably going to spend a lot more time and money on that solution. So it's a straightforward strategy, but it does come with a lot of challenges. And your maintenance regime can become suboptimal, leading to inappropriate, insufficient, or simply no maintenance on assets, which in the long term lead to additional costs and increased energy consumption in the absence of any maintenance at all. So without monitoring and maintaining your assets, you risk them breaking down unexpectedly, which can mean paying a premium on call-out fees or, parts that are required to then fix the asset. Maybe impact is seen in both assets breaking down and resource being pulled away from some of your planned preventative maintenance activity. It's higher cost, it's time wastage. You've just entered that vicious cycle that is really, really difficult to break out of. Now, an ideal situation for any organization is to complete more than just your statutory tasks. It would make your assets and your buildings safer. It would make them more operationally effective. But, that is often far from the reality. We don't want to assume, that everybody is living in an ideal situation. We know that that's not the case. It's not as easy as just doing planned preventative maintenance. But, prioritizing statutory tasks should be applying the correct level of maintenance to critical assets using a risk-based approach. So consider your maintenance approach on assets that significantly impact the organization. If that asset breaks down, what is that impact on the health and safety of your occupants and the building? Regular servicing can help prevent some of those unexpected failures and save you time and money by ensuring that your assets are maintained throughout their life cycle. Now, there is nothing wrong with having reactive maintenance as part of your strategy. That's important. But when it becomes the only part of your strategy, you find yourself in this vicious cycle with compliance becoming harder and harder to achieve. It's one way that you can fall off the standard. And another way is by using PDFs. So give me a reaction right now if you're still using PDFs, because we know it's common. It's a question that we receive at SFG20 quite often, and that people want to know, can they use PDFs? The simple answer and the important answer is no. You should not be using PDFs. But let me explain why. The SFG20 standard changes every single month. On average, there are 800 schedule updates per year. If you have a print copy of a schedule, you can't update it very easily. You run the risk of falling off the standard and being non-compliant by failing to complete your statutory tasks. Now, the building safety regulator has made a point of sanctions being their first step, not a last resort. So with the average fine of £150,000, it's costly to risk non-compliance. And we understand that PDFs is the old way of doing things. And you might like them because they're easy to use, they're easy to share, you know them. Maybe you've even got processes built around them in your organization. But just because that's what you've done for a while now doesn't make it the best solution for you moving forward. If you're thinking, it's hard to change how my organization has done this for years, consider your need to achieve statutory compliance. For every challenge or resistance to move away from PDFs, there is a compelling reason to step into the dynamic world of facilities IQ. It's your best chance of remaining compliant, and it will save you time, money, and carbon compared to your current approach. Now, if you're concerned about sharing schedules with your stakeholders, we have a solution for that now. It's easy through using secure sharing links. Now, secure sharing links allow all users to see the latest accepted version of the SFG20 standard. This will reduce your risk and help you stay on top of ever-changing legislation. Secure sharing links are going to help save you time and money by removing the need to print, distribute, and update PDFs. It's an eco-friendly way to transfer the information. This also provides a sufficient audit trail, upholding accountability, quality control, compliance, and adhering to the more important golden thread of information. And also, imagine if you could tender and compare quotations on a like-for-like basis. Comparing apples with apples is a really important part of that service provider challenge. And also, you're going to remove effort from the heavy manual input that you need to do to upscale and update every single schedule. Making 800 changes a year on average, that's almost a full-time job. Secure sharing links really is a better way to approach your systems rather than PDFs. And I now want to run a quick poll to see where you're at on this journey. So, Nicola, if you can put this poll up. Is your organization still using PDFs? Maybe you made a shift away from them some time ago. Or maybe it's a move that you're going to start making from today onwards. It's possible that you're somewhere in the middle of that transition as well. But the main thing is that you're making strides towards best practice to achieve compliance. This really is a solid way to start building your foundations upon. I see there, there's 64% of the vote right now, and there are more coming in still using PDFs. That's okay, but it's what you do about it today. So using secure sharing links compared to PDFs is a great way to start building these solid FM foundations, but it is only the beginning. In a second, I'm going to run you through a 3-step process that will help you to build solid FM foundations. And if you think of your FM strategy like building a house, if you don't put in strong foundations, the house will fall down as you add more layers to it. The foundations that you build really are critical to your success. So step number 1 is to update your asset register. An accurate and up-to-date asset register is the cornerstone of effective building maintenance. It serves as the blueprint where you can plan and execute all of your maintenance activities from. But that's challenging when many facilities operate with outdated, inaccurate, and in some cases, non-existent asset registers. This oversight can lead to inefficiencies, increased costs, and compliance risks. So what state is your asset register in? Is it like the image on the left, which might be difficult to use as a blueprint, or like the image on the right that is, a little bit more manageable, a little bit more structured? Understanding the full inventory of a building's assets allows for more strategic maintenance planning. It ensures that all necessary maintenance activities are accounted for and scheduled appropriately, reducing the risk of unexpected failures or compliance issues. And often, organizations find themselves with outdated asset registers, which can lead to the reactive maintenance approach, where issues are addressed only once they arise. Now, as again we spoke about earlier, this not only increases the risk of non-compliance, but results in that high maintenance cost and potential downtime for your assets. With an accurate asset register, you can shift from an overly reactive approach to a proactive maintenance strategy, meaning that you can identify maintenance needs before they become critical. So doing this is a crucial step that's going to help keep your buildings compliant with all relevant regulations and standards. You must document and keep a record of your assets to demonstrate compliance in the event of an audit or a legal challenge. Now, without that updated asset register, you could leave yourself scrambling. You could leave yourself non-compliant and unprepared for any challenges that come your way. Now, generally speaking, if your asset register is at least 80% correct, then that's considered good within the industry. 80% correct is something to be striving for. And our product director at SFG20, Paul Bullard, has stated that sometimes entire buildings and systems have been missing from asset registers. The asset register really is the foundation that sits beneath your whole maintenance strategy. Without this as step one, your foundations might come down, and you don't want that to happen. Alongside the asset register, you'll need to build a comprehensive maintenance plan, which is step number 2. Your maintenance plan should be aligned with current legislation and the specific needs of the building. Utilizing tools such as Facilities IQ can facilitate this process for you, providing clear and comprehensive guidance that ensures compliance while allowing you to tailor the SFG20 standard to suit the unique requirements of each of your facilities. Staying up to date with the latest legislation is crucial for compliance. A comprehensive maintenance plan includes all relevant statutory tasks for that facility as a bare minimum. By adopting the SFG20 standard, you can build a maintenance plan that meets legal requirements and also optimizes the lifespan of your assets. And if you find yourself trapped in the vicious cycle of reactive maintenance, it can divert resources and attention away from those planned preventative activities. By building your comprehensive maintenance plan, you can break this cycle and allocate those resources more effectively to ensure that every piece of maintenance that you do contributes to overall compliance of your assets. But a maintenance plan is not a one and done activity. Regular compliance audits and risk assessments can help you identify potential areas of non-compliance before they become an issue. And these assessments need to form a standard part of your maintenance activities and cover all aspects of the legal frameworks that you apply to your assets. So staying up to date is another critical piece of the puzzle. In fact, that's the next step. So you must stay up to date in all aspects of FM. You must be informed with the latest information. And ignorance does not hold up in a court of law. There is no excuse for it. So staying up to date starts with education and training, ensuring that all of your staff, from management to maintenance personnel, are educated on the compliance requirements and best practices. And that includes training on the use of SFG20 and understanding the legal implications of any maintenance work that they are doing. You are building a culture of compliance, which comes with an ongoing commitment to education and engagement across all levels of your organization. Now, that's something to strive for, and that's not going to be easy, but it's a good aim. Staying up to date can feel like a bit of a pain. Maybe you're researching from different sources, but the days of CDs and print out PDFs are over. And the path to compliance isn't easy. But staying up to date with legislation can be if you use the SFG20 software solution, Facilities IQ. It is the best way to access the latest version of the SFG20 standard. And you can connect Facilities IQ to your CAFM to ensure a seamless transition from update to implementing into your maintenance plan.
Hi guys, I'm going to explain a feature in Facilities IQ called a maintenance regime. So talking about being organized, saving time and money. So a maintenance regime is a Facilities IQ feature that allows you to organize and tailor schedules to suit your way of working. Regimes are often used to organize schedules by specific factors, such as budget, location, or maybe a contract. You can think of it as a method to replicate your building's asset structure in an efficient file and folder format. You can share maintenance regimes with colleagues, technicians, or engineers out in the field via another feature called sharing links, which is what's going to be replacing PDFs. Regimes can also be shared via sharing links for the purposes of providing a specification for a tender or for completion of works. They're an excellent solution for maintaining a golden thread of information about the building. And if you've ever had issues with, nebulous or vague contracts, maintenance regimes are a great way to really nail down exactly what will be carried out and when. So, how does a maintenance regime differ from a maintenance plan? A maintenance regime differs from a plan in that plan assigns resources to a specific date for each task, whereas a regime will state what tasks need to be carried out, how often, and by who in terms of skill set. This includes all of the relevant task instructions, frequencies, skill sets, and criticality that are needed to build your maintenance plan. So why do you need a maintenance regime? One of the greatest advantages of setting up maintenance regimes in Facilities IQ is the ability to save you time, as it removes the need to make manual imports and/or adjustments to your capital. Fundamentally, maintenance regimes can be used to organize schedules by specific factors, such as location, industry, or contract in a way that's entirely bespoke to you. For example, you might have multiple sites in one regime if they're all in a similar area, such as London. However, if you have multiple sites across the UK, then you might have one regime for London, one for Manchester, and one for Birmingham, etc. You need to share your maintenance regimes with partners, and has been a pain point for a long time. But now it's simpler than ever, and it's not through emailing a PDF. So you need to work collaboratively, work efficiently, stay on top of ever-changing legislation, work sustainably, mitigate your risk, provide audit trails, and work securely. In today's world, you can now share, collaborate, and update your stakeholders at the click of a button. The SFG20 API allows the latest version of your maintenance regime to flow into your FM operating systems, meaning no more manual updates or falling off the latest version of the SFG20 available to relevant parties. Users are notified of updates to the SFG20 standard, and you can choose when to implement the updates. This puts you in control. With just a click of a button, your content can be updated to ensure you are carrying out the maintenance in line with the latest SFG20 standard. There is no better way to work with the standard and keep your buildings compliant and running efficiently. The API comes at no cost to you. SFG20 provides support with the integration process to make it effortless. We believe it's important that the whole industry can achieve compliance with the SFG20 standard. Now, we get asked a lot of questions about our API timescales. When will X partner be ready? What about Y, etc.? We get it. But you have to remember this is a partnership. Both sides must equally understand the importance of this API to you, their potential customer, in order for them to see the value in prioritizing it. So if you're excited about this API, please tell your FM system provider. That is the most powerful thing you can do. So, how this works on the ground. You can easily name share links, select who you want to send it out to with your licensed contacts, and choose how long they can view it for. The recipient will receive an email with the link to access the shared data. Secured sharing links make your life much easier and allow you to tender and compare apples of apples, share task instructions of a defined group, share the latest accepted version of SFG20 in your organization. And also, this is further enhanced through the SFG20 companion mobile app too. So this allows engineers in the field to confirm completion of daily checks for your golden thread. And it also removes manual updating, filing, and printing out of the SFG20 standard, keeping you compliant whilst removing print costs and reducing carbon use.
Did you enjoy this video? Subscribe today to get the latest tips from SFG20, the industry standard for building maintenance.